Walking is by far one of my favorite exercises. I think it's great for longevity. There's a whole host of reasons why you should be walking daily, more steps. But if your goal is to lose weight with walking, today I'm going to share with you 7 things you need to be doing to make that a real possibility. I mean, you've been walking all your life, but if now your goal is to use walking to drop some pounds, these 7 strategies are going to make all the difference. Hey, my name is Chalene Johnson. Thank you so much for joining me today on The Chalene Show, which I am recording from my hotel room in Amsterdam. I'm in the Netherlands. My husband and I have been traveling now for about a month and a half. Our journey through Europe is almost complete. We've also been working and doing a ton of walking. One of the ways we love to explore is by just putting on our shoes and walking everywhere. We started doing this about a year ago. Actually, last year when we traveled through Europe, and we continued the habit once we got back to the States. Using walking and a few other strategies that I've broken down in other episodes, together we have been able to lose about 10 pounds each, about 10 to 12% body fat. I don't know because I don't test all the time. It's not that big of a deal. Like my body fat is not that big of a deal. Like I want to live my life. But it is nice to feel healthier. And it is nice to use something that's so gentle on your body to help you lose weight. But I've heard from many people who say, like, I'm walking, I'm getting in the extra steps, but I haven't dropped any pounds. So I want to break down some very specific strategies you can employ to help you drop the weight. Before we get too far, if you enjoy this kind of content, or if you are a regular watcher of The Chalene Show here on YouTube, can I invite you to please subscribe? I would love for you to also smash that like button. It really does help the algorithm, and it also brings you good karma. Parking lot karma specifically. So the next time you're trying to find a parking spot right up front because you're in a hurry, if you're subscribed to the show, it's almost a guarantee, I think. I mean, don't hold me to it, but there's a good chance. The first and most obvious strategy is to increase your step count. The studies have shown that women specifically, who focus on the length of time that they're walking and trying to increase that as a goal versus trying to increase their step count, well, those who specifically focus on a step count tend to get more exercise in general and are more successful in their weight loss and weight maintenance journey. So whatever your step count is today, and if you're not tracking your steps, that would be my first suggestion, is start tracking your steps. Now, I did hear that Samsung just came out with a tracking ring. Oh my gosh, I don't have mine on. Stand by, I'm gonna go grab it. Okay, I wear a ring to track my step count, and it's just so seamless. I'm not the kind of person who normally wears a watch, but there's many different ways that you can track your step count. You can use an old-fashioned pedometer. You could use your Apple Watch, a Whoop band. I use an Oura ring. My husband wears a ring called a Incline, and Apple has been rumored for years to be soon coming out with their own ring. I'm so surprised that Samsung beat them to the punch. But nonetheless, when you track your steps, it gamifies something that's so good for you. You know, they say what it is we track, we can improve. So if you're not tracking your step count, like how do you really know how many steps you're getting in? I mean, I didn't. I've been wearing an Oura ring, but I never used to look at my step count until everyone started talking about their step count. And then I looked at mine and I was shocked to find out that I was not getting in nearly enough steps. Like it was so low, it's actually embarrassing. I set a goal for myself to just hit 12,000 steps every day. I know the number is 10,000, but I wanted to go beyond that. So I made it my goal to hit 12,000 steps a day. That was pretty easy to do over the course of a couple of months. You don't want to do these things overnight, but once you set a goal, an objective for yourself, give yourself a reasonable amount of time to reach that number, right? So once I hit 12,000, then it was my goal to hit 15,000. And I went up in maybe 1,000 step increments each month. So the next month it might have been 16,000. And the next month I might have tried to hit 17,000. And of course, there are days where you don't hit that, but if that's your goal on a daily basis, you're going to get in more steps. And the more steps you get in, the more calories you're going to burn, the more energy you're going to burn. And the more energy you're burning, the more likely you are to get into a calorie deficit. It's creating that calorie deficit that is so key if you're trying to lose weight. Regardless of what methodology you use to lose weight, it still does boil down to mathematics. So there might be a whole number of reasons why you're not burning a lot of calories, you're not burning through your energy. But if we can increase the rate at which you're burning calories by just increasing your step count, I think that's a win. So increase your step count. I currently am at 20,000 steps a day. That's my goal. Now, some days I'm going to hit 23,000. Some days I hit 18,000. Some days I only hit 5,000. But my goal is to hit 20,000, and I've been pretty consistently doing that for the last 90 days. But it has taken some time to work up to that. So please hear me when I say it's something you want to work towards. Otherwise, you're going to be overly sore. Your feet are going to bother you. It's just too much too soon. Make sure that you're getting there gradually and not just like in one walk per day. I want to break that down. So every time I tell people how many steps I get in, they're like, how do you have the time to do that long of a walk? It's like, well, I don't do that long of a walk. I just try to make it a goal not to sit. Like right now, I'm standing up in my hotel room, filming this in Amsterdam. I'm using a carry-on piece of luggage as my desk so that I'm not sitting. And I sat for thousands and thousands of podcasts that I recorded. I used to sit. And so now anything that I'm doing, I ask myself, could I be standing and doing this? When I put on my makeup, do I have to sit down in a chair or can I stand and do it? Because even just like pacing is movement, and those little steps all add up. My number 2 strategy for you is to walk an incline. Now, this doesn't necessarily have to be on a treadmill. It can mean that you're going to change your path. The normal way that you walk, look for inclines. And you can do this on lots of different walking apps. You can do this just by looking on Google Maps. It'll tell you how much of a walk is on an incline. And one of my favorite ways to get used to doing this, or one of the most consistent ways to make sure that you're walking and burning more calories, is to simply put your treadmill on an incline. Just as I suggest that you do this kind of like gradually when you're trying to increase your step count, I want you to do the same thing when you're walking on an incline. Like I've seen so many people who are like, okay, I'm supposed to walk at a 12 incline, but yet they've never walked on an incline at all. So they go from 0 to 12%, which is way too much. Just increase your incline like 2%. Like go to a number 2 on your treadmill of an incline and do that for a couple of days until you're like, okay, this feels normal. I'm used to it. With all exercise, our bodies have been designed to plateau for us. You know what I mean? Like that's called homeostasis, which means it's kind of a good thing. It's kind of a bad thing. The bad part about it is our bodies are always trying to make things easier for us because it's in survival mode at all times. So once you get really adept at walking on a flat surface, your body is going to get better at it, and it's just naturally not going to burn as many calories. It's the reason why when you do a new workout, just because it's brand new, you're going to burn a boatload of calories because your body hasn't figured it out yet. So just change things up by increasing your incline. So if you're having a difficult time finding terrain outside that is steeper, that's got more of an incline, that's more challenging, then take it to the treadmill. You know, and I know the indoor walking platforms, not all of them have an incline, but if you are in the market for a treadmill, a walking desk, if you will, or even a walking pad, they do make walking pads that have an incline. However, if you're going to get one of those, I recommend that you watch the video I did where I reviewed my favorite walking pads, and remember that you might want to look for one that has an incline. Otherwise, if you're going to the gym or if your treadmill at home has the ability to incline, start slowly, do this gradually. There's no rush. The more you approach this as like a gradual process, the less likely your body is to adapt to it, right? So we're introducing change, which brings me to my 3rd strategy. Okay, and this one is wild. This one, I'm going to be honest, I haven't done this yet, and I want to, but when I brought it up to my husband, he's like, no way, we are not doing that. What is it? Walking sticks, also known as Nordic walking. Okay, so I'm just gonna be completely honest. Whenever I see somebody walking with walking sticks, I'm like, what are they doing? I literally used to always go like, why do they have sticks? Like, what is going on here? Well, it's called Nordic walking. And we saw a lot of people in Europe using walking sticks. So I did my research and it's legit, y'all. Did you know that studies have found adding walking sticks, even if you're in the city, and we're not even talking like you're doing mountain terrain, we're just talking just using walking sticks, people have been found to burn up to 20% more calories, up to 20% higher VO2 max. And I'm like, why is that? So I did a little further research, and the reason why is you're using your upper body. And there's something about using those sticks that just makes you go faster. It makes sense, doesn't it? So there's lots of different walking sticks on the market. They range from really low cost to very high end. As you can imagine, the ones that are very lightweight that you can travel with are pretty expensive. So I would suggest if this is something you're thinking about, get an inexpensive pair to try them out first and see if it's something you like. My husband, I'm going to have a tough time talking him into this one, but you never know. I mean, I have talked him into quite a few things. And usually, like once I can show him some research, he's like, all right, we'll give it a try. So walking sticks for the win. Now, I haven't introduced those yet, but I'm dying to hear if any of you have tried walking sticks. It's also said to help improve your posture, to improve your balance, and to use your upper body. That mobility, just moving your arms is going to get you to burn more calories. By the way, I wanted to tell you, for those of you who want to know more behind the scenes, you want to know more about our travels and the funny conversations and truly unfiltered things that happen between myself and my husband and our lives, I go all the way there, all the way friggin' there, very raw, very, as I said, unfiltered on Patreon. So if that's something you would like, or if you just want me to keep you company, I have hours and hours of really kind of girlfriend to girlfriend content on Patreon. You can check it out by going to patreon.com/The Chalene Show. There's 2 levels, starts at $5 a month. I would love to invite you to become a member. All right, back to the show. My number 4 strategy I absolutely love for everyone, especially women over 40, and that is get yourself a walking vest. A walking vest is so important for your overall mineral bone density. There are countless studies that show for the past 20 years, we have known that if women want to improve their bone density, one of the easiest things you can do is wear a walking vest. And here's the thing with a walking vest, you don't even have to start walking with it. Just wear it around your house. While you're, putting things away or, the things we do around the house, whatever that is. Just put it on for maybe 10 or 15 minutes a day, get used to it. I can tell you when I first got one, I was like, I can't wait to take this off. I felt very almost claustrophobic. I could feel my rate of exertion going up. It felt heavy and I couldn't wait to take it off. And I couldn't have imagined myself going out to walk in it. Now I've done a complete breakdown of how to pick the right walking vest, what's the right size for you, the different types of walking vests and how to get started with them so you're not making an expensive mistake. So check out that previous episode. I will of course link to it below. But a walking vest is a simple way to burn a lot more calories. And you're going to know immediately. As soon as you put one on, you're going to be like, whoa, this is harder. Anything that's harder typically is going to burn more calories. Not all things, but most things, right? So I would suggest wearing a walking vest. But here's the other thing. Some people can't wear a walking vest. They just don't like the feel of it. Maybe you have some back issues that prevent you from wearing a walking vest. Maybe you've tried one in the past and you don't like the way it feels. For whatever reason, it doesn't work. Why not use ankle weights or even hand weights? Now, they don't, from what we can tell, have the same impact on your bone density because it's not putting weight on your skeletal system, but it is more exertion. You are going to exert more calories. So why not? And even to just change it up, because there's some days where I'm I just don't feel like wearing a walking vest. I don't feel like getting that sweaty or just the heaviness of it. So wear ankle weights. Again, you can wear your ankle weights around the house. Just getting in those incidental steps, not the steps that you're going out to get your workout, but the steps you get just living life. Wear ankle weights. It's crazy how light you feel once you take those suckers off. And there's so many cute styles of ankle and wrist weights now. I see them on TikTok all the time. So I'll link to a couple of those in our show notes as well. But that's also something that you can gradually increase the weight or the heaviness of your ankle and or wrist weights, and of course, your walking vest. Number 5, incorporate intervals into your walking. Now, this is when you're specifically walking for exercise, which by the way, I typically do 1 walk per day. That's for my cardio. And it will be anywhere from 40 minutes to an hour and 20 minutes. And I'm specifically doing that in what we call zone 2 cardio. So in terms of my rate of perceived exertion, I can still talk comfortably. I can still carry on a conversation. I'm not terribly uncomfortable, and I can do it for a long duration, which typically means we're going to get into our fat burning zones. Now, I've talked about zone 2 in lots of my previous walking videos, so we'll skip over that today. But what I'm going to suggest for you as a strategy, if you've been doing a lot of zone 2 walking, is to change it up. Again, your body gets used to these things. So maybe a couple times a week, incorporate interval training into your walking. What do I mean by that? I mean, pushing yourself outside of zone 2, maybe going into zone 3, 4, and even 5, where for approximately 1 minute, you're walking as fast as you possibly can. Maybe even if you're comfortable with it, doing a slow jog where your intensity is going up, where you couldn't easily maintain a conversation, but you're not like, it's not high intensity, but a higher intensity. Now, once you get used to that, then you could incorporate some high intensity walking, like where you're walking so fast, it feels like you're trying to outwalk a lion that's chasing you. I don't know if you've ever done this. It looks kind of silly. I'm going to be honest. Like when I'm walking as fast as I possibly can, which I sometimes do to keep up with my husband, I just feel like one of those like memes or those funny videos you see where people are like, like swinging their hips really fast and walking. I'll have to incorporate it into, but to do that for like 1 minute, when I'm on a trail and there's not a bunch of people looking at me, I know I sound really vain right now, like that I'm embarrassed to walk with walking sticks or embarrassed to walk in a weird way, but like whatever, we all have our things. The other thing I find very embarrassing, oddly embarrassing, do you do this too? Like when I'm walking and then like, okay, I'm going to walk for 30 minutes and then I turn around, I feel so weird, like just like randomly turning around. I feel like I need to explain it to anybody who might see me on the street. I'm like, oh, I'm actually done with 30 minutes and now I'm going back the other way. I'm not lost. I know where I'm at. Like, I'm not crazy. Like, I don't know why, but I find it just oddly embarrassing when I just turn around. So now I'll just like pretend like I'm looking at my phone like, oh, got to get back for this. Whatever. We all have our weird things. I don't even know if I completed my thought, but the bottom line is this. You can do intervals of like 1 minute and then maybe 5 minutes back into zone 2. And then 1 minute as high intensity as you can go and then back into zone 2 for 5 minutes. You can do any variation of intervals you want. And I find one of the best ways to do this is to just match your tempo to your playlist. Okay, because you typically, if it's just like your favorite songs, they're going to be beats per minute that are kind of like all over the place. So if you're just trying to keep up with the beats per minute, you will naturally find a really fun way to incorporate interval training. You can also do this on a treadmill, right? So where you're walking on an incline, maybe go to an incline 10 for 1 minute, as long as you possibly can, or doing an interval of running, like sprint on the treadmill for 30 seconds, even 20-second intervals makes a huge difference in your fat loss. My number 6 strategy for you is to increase your speed. So few people realize that they have gotten into a habit of walking at a specific pace. And I know this to be true because I love walking with my friends. I love walking with a business associate. Like when we get together with our team, the folks that, work for us at Team Johnson, and we do this on occasion, like most of us are all virtual, but when we do get together, I love doing like a walk at lunch, or we'll do a walk before our meetings start in the morning. And it's interesting because oftentimes I'll be told by either a friend or someone that I'm walking with, they're like, oh, wow, I didn't realize that I walk pretty slow compared to you, Chalene. And I'm like, oh, that makes me happy because I'm short, I'm 5'2". So I'm always excited when I can like walk faster than somebody who's much taller than me and has much longer legs. But the bottom line is your pace is something you can increase. Now, you have me run with any of these people and I guarantee they're going to be faster than me. I'm such a slow runner, but I've never tried to get faster at running. And walking is something I have intentionally trained myself to walk faster. Here are my tips for walking faster. Number 1, you want to walk with your hips pressing forward. Okay. So I walk with my hips forward and I let my hips swivel slightly so that I'm driving my heel out as far forward as possible, but not so far forward that it feels uncomfortable. Number 2 is look at how fast you can walk on the treadmill. So when I first started walking on a treadmill, it felt like so fast for me to be going like 3.5 as in terms of a speed. Is that 3.5 miles per hour? I don't know. I don't know what that number means, but 3.5 on the treadmill, right? And I just slowly, over time, over the course of the last year, have increased my speed up to 4.6. 4.6 is kind of my standard speed now when I'm walking on a treadmill. And then what I'll do is I'll match that to a particular song. So that song is what I can use to kind of test my gait when I'm walking outside, because I would much prefer to walk outside. But I also don't want to get in the habit of walking too slow. So I'm always pushing myself and also paying attention to my perceived rate of exertion. And that just means on a scale of 1 to 10, how do you feel? 10 is like, I can't maintain this. I feel like I'm going to die. 9 is like, okay, I can do this for like 30 seconds, but it is so hard. I can barely breathe. It's anaerobic. And so you slide down that scale. And when you're doing zone 2 walking, it should be difficult, but you should still be able to have a conversation. And the way that you're going to be able to increase your speed is by increasing your VO2 max. That means the healthier, the stronger your cardiovascular system becomes, the faster you're going to be able to walk and still be in zone 2. Now, if you don't have a treadmill to be able to test your speed, another great way to become a faster walker is to walk with other people who walk faster. So whether that's like your friend who has long legs, or your husband, or your partner, or just anyone who can walk really fast, walk with them. It's going to make you walk faster. And when you walk faster, you're going to get in more steps. Like over the course of an hour, if you can cover more ground, that means you're getting in more steps. My 7th and final strategy is to change your terrain. And there's so many ways you can do this. Walking in sand is one of my favorites. It's so hard. It's also so beautiful, and it's really fun to do it with a friend. That's my friend Amanda and I walking on the beach. Brett and I love to walk on the beach, and we're fortunate enough to live part-time in Miami, Florida, and part-time in California, and part-time in Europe. And so we try to go to coastal environments where we can walk on the beach. But other terrain is like walking stairs, climbing through mountaintops, like touring and hiking and having fun exploring cities, just figuring out a different route. So often we get in a rut and we just take the same trail, the same path, the same walk day after day. And I want to encourage you to, if you're doing a walk outside for exercise, even if you just like drive 5 minutes to get to a new location, to get to a park, to get to a place where there are hills or mountains or just uneven terrain. Just uneven terrain makes your body work so much harder because you have to pay attention and your focus, and it increases your VO2 max. Obviously, sand creates that resistance, so you're going to burn more calories. And that, for those of you who live in areas where it gets nice and cold and you get some snow, like walking in deep snow, oh my God. There is no better way to increase your intensity than walking in the snow. Like walking in the snow is so much harder than walking in the sand. Just make sure you've got the right gear. But ultimately, remember this. Weight loss isn't just about exercise. Exercise is a small component of it. I mean, it's a big component of it because it makes you happy. It makes you feel good. It gives you more energy. And when you've got more energy, you've got more confidence, you feel better about yourself, you tend to make better choices as it relates to nutrition. But the bottom line is this: if you want to lose weight, if you want to take off additional pounds, which I don't know if that's your goal, but if it is, you've got to dial in your nutrition. And you got to look at your hormones, right? Like hormones are probably the biggest driver of all of this. Because if you're never satisfied, if you're always hungry and you feel like you're denying yourself and you feel like you're having to restrict, that's not fun and it's not sustainable. But what is sustainable is when you're just not as hungry. That's what we hear so many people saying who have found success, have found help with GLP-1s, whether it's Wegovy or Mounjaro or Ozempic. So many people have said to me, it's quieted the food noise. Like I'm not thinking about food. I'm eating and feeling satisfied. What it's doing is having an impact on their hunger hormones. And you too can naturally improve your hunger hormones. Exercise is a wonderful way to do that, but balancing your hunger hormones by making sure that your meals start with a healthy dose of protein. Like just start with a big hunk of meat. Start with a big piece of protein. If you're vegetarian, maybe that's tofu, whatever it might be. Just start with protein first because it is so satiating. Then add your greens. And then, of course, healthy carbs too. I've done a whole bunch of episodes talking about how I get enough protein in without being crazy, And I don't mean that you're crazy if you track, because if that works for you, it's great. But I did that for so many years, and I don't do it currently because it just wasn't healthy for me. Like I became too obsessive. And I'm going to be completely honest. I'm a little worried about myself right now. Like I'm going to put myself in check when it comes to being obsessive about my step count. Like I know it's a problem. I realize it's a problem because the other day I was wearing my ring and I didn't realize it hadn't charged. It was a really big step day and I was so mad. I was like furious. I'm like, I'm going to write my senator. I'm going to demand. What am I going to demand? Like I got the steps in. Who cares? Like it's not like I'm turning it into anybody. Why did I care so much that my step count didn't track that day? Anybody? 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 Like, well, and Brett's like, simmer, like, why do you care? I'm like, I don't know, but I do. So yeah, I need to probably put myself in check because, it's gamified. And so it's like, I want to win. Win what? I don't know. But because I got the steps in, right? So like, why do I care so much about the number? I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. It's mainly a good thing. But when you get mad about it because it's not tracking, that's probably not a good thing. Anyways, that's why I don't track my macros anymore because it just became obsessive where I no longer was enjoying my food. I think it's a healthy habit for a lot of you, especially if you've never tracked your macros before. You don't know how much food you're consuming. It's a great idea. But if it feels like math and it feels like something you've done before and you don't want to go there again, I would love to have you watch or listen to the episode I did on tracking your macros, like the easy way to get in enough protein. Because I think it's about like, how can we make all of this so simple? It's just part of our lives. Like right now, as I mentioned, we are in Amsterdam and I'm literally looking out onto the street here. And I don't know if you've ever seen videos or if you've ever visited Amsterdam, but I had no idea that the entire city is just built around being healthy, like exercise. There are 10 times more bicycles than there are cars. Everybody's on a bike. In fact, it's kind of scary to walk around because I feel like I'm going to get hit by a bike, but everybody is on a bike and I love it. And they're these like kind of like very upright, I think they call them granny bikes or like beach cruisers or like, not a fancy bike, not a 10-speed, not a, special mountain bike, just a really simple, upright kind of beach cruiser kind of bike. And everybody is fit and looks, not everybody, but people look pretty fit. And we've been having great conversations with people who live here. This is just a way of life. It's how they get around. It's how they stay active. And it's really quite remarkable how it's become part of their lifestyle. And I wish more cities would take on this. I mean, I can't imagine what it does for the environment, what it does for your mental health. You know what else you can't do when you are on a bike? You can't be on your phone. So I have to imagine that the mental health of people here in the Netherlands, specifically Amsterdam, has got to be like super high. Like I don't see anybody looking at their phone. When we're in New York City, which it kind of feels like a very cleaned up version of Soho, you know what I mean? Everybody's on their phones. Like even when they're walking, they're like this. Yeah, people who are in their cars, they're on their phone. Like everybody's on their phones. And it's very difficult to feel present, to take in your environment, to notice the sights and the smells and the sounds. And you just can't do that here in Amsterdam because it wouldn't be safe. These bikes are flying. I don't know. It's really made me think. Because even walking around here, I don't dare look at my phone because I'll get taken out by one of these cyclists, I mean, they're not cyclists. They're just they're just people living their life, but they're doing so and being very active and very present. So I encourage you to take on new habits in a way that you're going to incorporate into your life for the rest of your life. Because I want you to live powerfully. I want you to age with rebellion. I don't want you to fear aging. I want you to feel like $1,000,000, and you can. You can change your body. You can change your mindset. You can change your habits. You can change everything. And you've got the power to do that. And right now is the time. So if that's something you need help with, I would love to invite you to check out Phase It Up. That is my program where I help specifically women who are over 35, all the way up to 105, understand how to take control of your hormones, how to increase your muscle, how to work out, how to eat, how to live, how to take that second phase of your life and turn it into the after party, something that you just could never imagine was possible, because it is possible. Hey, thank you so much for joining me here today on the Chalene Show. I love you. I mean it, and I'll see you soon. I'm going to grab a piece of paper so I can keep track of what step number I'm on. Excuse me, I'm going to go get a few more steps in.